So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the room as well, and glad to be able to be here, and I hugely appreciate, again, all your support over the years, for many, many years, back when Pam was here, and even through the transition with me being here. And I think most of you know what we do, but if you're not familiar, we do spiritual emphasis weeks for Christian schools across the Northeast. And one of the things I always say is whatever is in the public schools is in the Christian schools as well. And when we go to a school, we stay there all day, every day, and have the opportunity to really invest in the students and not just speak at them in chapel, but to really get to know them, pour into them, and we go to the same schools every year. And usually when I come, I try to share some of the stories from the previous year that have stood out to me, and so that you have an idea of what your partnership goes towards. And so for this morning, I just put up behind the facade, right? Because Christian school students can be great at wearing the facade. They know how to say all the right things. They know how to act all the right ways around all of the right people, all those kinds of things. And yet, behind the facade, there is just as much going on in their lives as there is with anyone else's life. And so I'm going to share a few stories of some different students from this year. The first one is a senior girl named Hannah. And Hannah is the pastor's daughter. She's a natural leader. She seems like she has it all together, and she's just, like I said, she's just a natural leader, has everything going for her. And we get to pour into those students as well, because Christian schools do have those students whose lives really are mostly together, and but it doesn't mean they have no questions and no struggles. And so Hannah says this. She says, for the past 3 years I've done spiritual emphasis week, there's always been a moment during the week, whether in journaling, conversations with leaders, or chapel messages, where I get an answer to the exact problem I've been struggling with lately. And I love that. Like during spiritual emphasis week, whatever it is, she gets an answer to the exact thing she's been struggling with. During a conversation with Maddie, one of our team members, she talked about how worried we got about decisions like where to go to college, what to study, or what career to pursue. As a senior, I feel lots of pressure to make the right decision. But what Maddie said reassured me that it isn't about me making the right decision. It is more important for me to do the next right thing in following God. Now, again, there are plenty of plenty of students in Christian schools who have huge struggles. Hannah is not one of those students, but we still have the opportunity to speak directly into her lives at a critical moment, right? Where is she going next? What's she going to do? And so on. And Spiritual Emphasis Week gives her an opportunity to ask those questions and get answers to the things that she's struggling with. Now, on the flip side, there was an 11th grade girl at a school that will remain nameless. And we have known her since kindergarten, and she's known us as obviously that long as well. So there's a long time level of relationship. And this 11th grade girl is also a pastor's daughter. However, life at her home is not like life at Hannah's home. Her dad is, I would say, emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, and borderline physically abusive. And one of our team members that week was somebody from the local school community who she already knew and already had a relationship with. And during a conversation with that team member, this young lady opened up to her about what was actually going on in her house at home. And it was the kind of situation where it had to be reported. And so the week we were there, we ended up reporting it. The police came. The police had conversations with the family, with the parents, and with her. And she left the home temporarily until things got to a better place. Now, when I put these two stories together, because they're both the daughters of pastors, and yet their home lives are completely opposite. And just as we get to speak into Hannah's life about something like college and the stress that she's dealing with, we also have the opportunity to intervene in a situation where this 11th grade girl is at risk in her house from her pastor father. And again, when the police car shows up at the Christian school, the Christian school had to get the students over into the other building because they didn't want to draw attention to it. They didn't want the students to know why the police car was at the school. But again, whatever is in a public school is also in a Christian school. And so this young lady was an example of that. And again, sharing this because this is the kind of thing that your partnership helps support. You're helping this 11th grade girl get help from an abusive situation at home. Right? Another one I wanted to share about is when we go to these schools, we have the conversations with students, we have journaling with students, and we also have different parts of chapel. And one of the things we do in chapel is we share an object lesson at the very beginning. It's usually like 5 minutes long. It's intended to be pretty quick and fairly lighthearted. And this year we've been using cereals as object lessons. And one of the cereals we used was Oops, All Berries by Captain Crunch. It's one of the Captain Crunch versions, right? And so we use this just for a brief object lesson at the beginning, and we use Psalm 139 where it says, I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, right? And we talk about how that Captain Crunch, oops, all berries, is not a mistake, right? It's not an oops. God doesn't say oops. God doesn't make mistakes. And it can seem like a trivial part of chapel, but for this one particular 8th grade girl, when I sent out the feedback form at the end of the week, this is part of what she wrote. She said this, I think maybe what she learned is I think maybe it was that you're not a mistake. I always feel like one and hate myself a lot, so that made me feel better, only a little though. Now there's some genuine realness. This is an 8th grade girl in a Christian school who thinks she's a mistake and who hates herself. And that 5-minute message on oops, all berries is part of what spoke to her that she's not a mistake. Now you notice at the end she says only a little though, right? But the encouraging part is that's forward movement. That's different from where she was at the beginning of the week, where all she felt was hatred of herself and feeling like she's a mistake. You don't know what part of chapel or what part of the week is going to hit her. And again, this is an 8th grade girl in a Christian school. Right. The next one I have up is a young man named Quinn. And Quinn is a 9th grade guy, again, in a Christian school, in a classical Christian school, like Covenant, where they have to take Latin as well. And you notice what he says at the very beginning there. He says, I have been dealing with porn for 5 years now, and it's been rough. Now do the math. He's a 9th grader, which means he's been dealing with porn since when? Since 4th grade. And this is something, again, that we deal with all the time. People think it's a middle school thing. People think it's a high school thing. People think it's a guy thing. And the reality is it's a girl-guy thing, and it often starts well before junior high and high school. And so he's been dealing with it since 4th grade and trying to do all the right things to deal with it, but has been unsuccessful. And he says this, been dealing with porn for 5 years now, and it's been rough. I asked Mr. Huffman for some help when I was writing in my journals. Because again, when we go to the schools, we write to the student, they can write to us about anything. We write back to them, back and forth for 4 days. It's like writing letters back and forth. And those journals, they take a lot of time, but they can be some of the most important breakthrough for a student during that week. So he's writing in my journal, it says, Mr. Huffman responded saying that I should swing by sometime for an object lesson. I had an object lesson in mind that it was better to show him than to write out. So I did, and that really changed the way I view porn and how to get out of it. So at the end of that week, he's tried all these other things, but at the end of that week, he had another strategy to try to help him battle something that he's been battling with since 4th grade. And again, whatever in the public school is in the Christian school too. And this is probably the most common issue that we deal with. And like I said, it's not just a guy thing, it's a girl thing too. I think I may have shared last year, I was at a school in March of last year, and a 6th grade girl came up after chapel on Friday morning and asked for help with that same problem. We hadn't been talking about it, hadn't come up in chapel at all that week or anything like that, but the 6th grade girl asked for help with that as well, and was able to get to deal with it. One of the things that we also do is on Friday morning, after we've gone through the whole week, we give the students a chance to share in chapel. And one of the 9th grade young men wrote this. He said, the time on Friday is a time for us as students to connect. It is much needed and not provided anywhere else. We simply don't get that in regular, orderly, neat, and tidy school. So when we're at their school, when they share, the students do a really good job of being open and sharing what they've learned, and sometimes sharing some of their own growth over the course of the week about real life stuff. And for this 9th grade guy, he says, listen, we're in school day in, day out, and we go through all the motions of regular school, but we never actually have that opportunity like that to connect, like that opportunity that's provided for us during that Friday chapel. And for this 9th grade guy, that's a really meaningful time for him, and it's a really meaningful time for the school. And when you read his other stuff, what he appreciates is how it brings unity to the group. And again, this is the fruit of your partnership as well. And the last one I'll put up is this. So it's something that this is a 10th grader from New York City. Something that I really appreciate about Spiritual Lumps this week is the college-age people who come along to help, because they're at an age where they have a lot more wisdom about life, but are also young enough to relate to our struggles as teenagers. So I think, as you know, we take teams to these different schools. It's not, I couldn't even tell you the last time it's ever been just me, probably back in COVID when that was the requirement. But we always try to have team members, including college-age students or high school students with us. And the value of that is having people closer to their age who know what they're going through, who've been there relatively recently, who can help them through those situations. And when you're in a Christian school, a lot of times your adults there are typically older. Most of the teachers are typically older, and a lot of times are typically female. And so to be able to bring a team with younger teachers, with younger team members, and with guys on our team as well that can relate to the young men better and so on, that's part of what we do. And that's why we stay all day, every day. So it's not just speaking at them in chapel, but it's relational. They have multiple avenues through conversations, through journals, through anonymous question time, like I shared with you last year, to really get, like I said up here, to get behind the facade, because it's so easy to wear that facade. And our goal is to get behind that and be able to speak life and truth, and encouragement and challenge and all those things into their lives. So that's part of what your stuff goes to, your financial giving goes to helping students like Quinn with his addiction, with a young lady whose home life is abusive, to students who hate themselves. And I know you don't always get to see the fruit of that, but I get to read these all throughout the year, and just want you to know how much I appreciate your investment in making that continue to happen. So appreciate your time.